town though, so. It's a dangerous place. I have to try myself.
We have however many minutes is up to the town trying to stretch.
Yes, this Goodman here.
He likes to be
I'm simply waiting. Everyone knows 2:50 is the time for the posting.
He does like to
Waiting until they all do arrive.
we curated this time. We're very busy lifestyle.
Oh, we want to do it in the store, but now we do it in the middle. Everybody's looking. Oh, and we get it on videotape.
I have a budgie. It looks like deer. A purse, and it's most certainly not a purse. That is rather odd that you're pushing that you wrong. Maybe it is a purse. Maybe I can look just bodice.
Oh my god.
They have the husband named John, and she says to him, "Oh, John dear, how are you this day?"
Mayhap, that could be. Is it true? What she said. Is that correct?
Oh, I'm not married. Oh, are you?
Well then your bodice is entirely wrong. I do not understand it at all.
It's a type of land equipment to mow lawn.
Let's see. Instead of a
Land?
like a big sign. A big sign.
Oh, yeah.
How are we?
Even tractor.
Good. We do have signs.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, it's a
So you use it for farming.
Whose name is John?
Good people of Salem. I seem just beginning.
Gather
you round! Step forward! One and all. It would be preferable perhaps if we could go this way. Unless you want to stand on my backside the entire time. Which would not be a yes, do come forward. Do not make him strain his voice. But just so I may.
I just Goodman does.
Ah, yes, good people. Step forward, hear the postings of this day. Come. Do not mix them. Good people, I do have a few items for you on this day. First of all, good people, I would like to say that the Blossom has come in over from Europe, the ship. Indeed, it has brought many things. It has brought a few catalysts, it brought some pewter. I know some people have been looking for some. Yes, indeed. Also some fine linens, as you can see, already on sale in the streets here. So if you would like, this is fine linens, fresh from Europe over there. So also, good people, I do have some news. It seems that Goodman Willoughby has burned his barn down yet again. Indeed.
What a barn burner!
He's a clumsy man. He's not very good with fire. That's the third time in the last year he has burned his barn
He is a
down.
cow-hounded man indeed.
Indeed he is. And good people, I do believe he wishes to raise another one next week. A different kind of barn raising. Indeed. No, that's a puzzle type, yes. And I do see some good strapping men here. If you will be willing to help them out next week, they will be rebuilding the barn. I know I will be there, so I hope to see you there as well. Good people, unfortunately, there is some bad news today. There have been cries of witchcraft upon us this day. Indeed, very unfortunate, good people. 5 young girls have cried out upon witches this morning, and just this morning, Abigail Hobbs confessed to being a witch for 6 years. 6 years, good people. It's a terrible thing. I have heard even these 5 young girls cried out upon they cried out upon Bridget Bishop of Salem town.
Bishop?
Yes, she has been cried out upon. And I am told there is a warrant for her arrest. Listen to the constable, good people.
Good people, I am the constable Herrick, and I stand before you, good people, with a warrant for the arrest of one Bridget Bishop. She has been cried out upon by 5 young girls for supernaturally bewitching them, and I have been commanded by the magistrates to bring her to the old town hall for her examination this day. If you have seen her, we do need to collect her. She wears a flashy red bodice and a blue cape. I did it once. There was a red bodice. No, there.
Right here.
They're right. Would you fish up, huh? Your shot. Indeed. Oh, where's here? Collect it. That is not the news to which
That is not a news for what you are concerned. Due to the warrant for your arrest, you've been charged by 5 young girls for bewitching them. You must come to courthouse for examination.
take your constables. You will not come.
Will you come peaceably? Then do come.
Good people, this way. Follow the constable.
I thought they were talking about you in the red dress.
I would not be a witch.
Okay. Just went through our pizza tasting contest here in Salem. What do you think was the best?
Number 1, Tomatoes Pizza.
Tomatoes Pizza. What do you think was the best?
Engine House Restaurant.
Engine House. All right.
See?
Okay.
We had a meal for under $30.
Here comes another two.
Face painting's free.
What do you think was the best?
2.
The two.
Thing.
Engine House. Yep. What do you got now? Domino's?
Nothing.
They're closed.
They're out. Can I get my face painted?
No.
Why not?
Are you a baby?
Yeah.
I caught it on film that you said you were a baby.
You know what? What time is that? Mom, do you have to try them all? Or?
The only thing is, watch your step as you enter. There's a little bit of a drop. You wouldn't want to get hurt. Please, no video photography while I'm saying anything.
Oh.
I don't want to walk on dead people. It's like walking on dead people.
Now,
See anything?
Yeah.
What?
I just put the night vision on. Did you see anything?
Yeah, I did over there.
Over here?
I walked over there.
Alright, we're walking through the cemetery in Salem. We're gonna see if we can see anything. These are graves here.
You say we go jump around on that hill.
The man said if you jump on the hill, you will fall through to the ground.
You didn't want to go to an emergency?
Stand next to Dad. See if I see him. Jeremy! Stop!
Is his grave in there? Yeah. Do you see anything?
He said to go down here.
But I can't see. It's like all dark. Can you see anything?
I can see something.
Yeah. Right, Dad. Ow!
What did he do?
You can't punch me. You're supposed to be quiet. I can't.
Something happened?
Scared me, Cassie.
Did you see something?
No, she scared me.
Oh.
Sorry for stepping on it.
So this was a waste of time. Whose full hand was on this? Would you?
Did you see anything? Huh?
No, he did say one was an orb.
One was?
Yeah. So the other ones weren't.
Ooh,
It was
can I
just
see
my
it?
flash, but because of the way the circle was, he enlarged it and said it was.
Oh. Did you see it? Wait. You can't see it all because
The old Salem jail. It was the longest continually operating jail in American history. Now, it was here from 1811 until 1994. It was housing criminals. Now, the prisoners never had heat, running water, or electricity. They didn't even have toilets. They had white buckets, which were emptied once a week. It was disgusting. Now, it was overcrowded. They were sticking 6 people at a time into cells that were designed to only hold 2 people at a time. It was disgusting. Finally, in 1994, the prisoners rioted. They got the jail shut down. All the guards and criminals were transferred. They were moved to other locations. However, the jail didn't remain empty for long. There are spirits who are still stuck in here. Basically, there's poor souls serving out eternal prison sentences inside this horrible jail. When somebody is suddenly and violently cut out of life, say by murder or suicide or an execution, and this jail has seen all of those, they don't get a chance to think through their death. They don't get a chance to reconcile themselves to it. And a lot of times they come back as spirits, not even being aware that they're dead. There's a lot of people like that now inhabiting this prison. This is the most negatively haunted place I've ever encountered. I've been in here a couple of times, and I do not intend to go back in. I've seen trained paranormal investigators come running right out after just being in there for a few minutes. I've seen the Salem police try to chase trespassers. The police get up to about the front door, then decide that they don't want to be bothered in there. It's that bad. It's rotting apart in there, the floor is decaying, and there's angry spirits. You can get arrested and sent to a much more modern jail if you get caught in there, but if you do want to give it a try, it's not hard to get in there. First, take off your stickers and then go back into the cemetery. You walk along the fence and then you come to a large hole in the fence through which you can slip, and then you'll be right on the property, and it's not very hard to get into the prison from there. I really don't recommend it. It's not a pleasant place in there. I knew a man who was incarcerated there in the 1960s. He would lie in bed at night and see this figure, an elongated man in old-fashioned clothing, standing at the foot of the bed. At first nobody believed him, but then the other prisoners and the guards started seeing this figure as well. It freaked him out so much they stopped using that cell. In this extremely overcrowded jail, that one cell remained unused until the prison closed down. I did a little bit of research. Turned out a man had hung themselves in that cell in the 1860s. They thought that killing themselves would be a way out of prison, but it seems like it's only served to trap them eternally inside this jail. There's a solitary confinement cell in there. It's solid metal all the way around. Nobody could possibly put a dent in it, yet there's deep gouge marks dug into it as though somebody was trying to claw their way out. Physically impossible, yet there it is. Some people say they hear terrible screams coming out of this prison late at night, so if you come back later, listen for that. And also, if you do go inside the jail, which once again I do not recommend, make sure you look around for the room with the trap door on the floor and the noose from the ceiling where the executions used to take place. Now, this prison, what you want to do is come up and either shoot through the bars or up above them to make sure that anything you get is the real thing and not just reflections caused off of this fence. But I've got to warn you, it may not show up. A lot of times in haunted places, your equipment, especially digital equipment, will cease to work. A lot of times your batteries will seem to just drain right down and you won't be able to get a picture. That's a great sign something strange is happening. If your digital equipment isn't working, turn to somebody with a regular camera and hopefully they'll be able to get something. But I've got to say, about a week ago there was a man on the tour. He spent over an hour trying to get a picture of the prison. He would get the fence, and everything behind the fence was just black. There were other people that night, the jail wouldn't show up at all. It was just blurry, or their pictures were completely black. So if your pictures stuff doesn't show up, let me know and have other people aim for the same place, and you might get some really startling results. Now, we use a lot of scientific equipment on our investigations, including something called an EMF detector. This registers electromagnetic radiation. There's a very strong link between electromagnetic radiation and spirit activity. That may be part of the reason Salem's so haunted. We're on a very high electromagnetic ley line. The strongest readings I've ever seen on this little meter are right up there at the carriage house. That old abandoned barn for years had lain dormant. About 3 years ago, it sprung to life.
See, I don't know if those are
EMF recordings have been the strongest I've ever seen on the meter. Also, we use
That's kind of cool. You can kind of see it back there. It's kind of spooky.
The temperature will suddenly
Did you
drop.
put the flash
It'll get
on?
icy
Yeah.
cold. Now, a sudden shift in temperature a lot of times will indicate that spirits are around. And I've also tracked several man-sized moving cold spots around the property at the carriage house. Now, I'm not psychic at all. I don't make any claims to that. But people who do believe they're psychic or clairvoyant, a lot of times they feel like they're strangely drawn to the carriage house. They feel like they've got an emotional compulsion, which pulls them right up to it. The only problem is, when you get too close to the carriage house, oftentimes you'll feel the air around you will become very heavy and almost will feel statically charged. Sometimes you'll get a wave of nausea come over you and you'll feel very sick. Some people feel extremely emotional and sad over there too, yet they're drawn to it all the same. Some people have said it feels so strong with energy that it feels like it vibrates. Now, I've never felt that, but enough people said it's only fair to pass it along to you. And I've done a little bit of research, and it seems like somebody may have lost their lives inside there. That might account for all of the activity. Now, another place you may want to aim the camera is right up there towards the two windows on the corner here at the jail keeper's house. That red brick building is where the jail keeper and his wife lived. And somehow next to this terrible jail, they raised a healthy, normal family. And after death, they've all returned. I'll show you a remarkable photograph full of orbs from inside there at the end of the tour. Now, even if you were to just turn around and at random start shooting your camera off on this spot, you might get some good results. This used to be part of the prison exercise yard. Many people were stabbed to death using homemade knives right around here, and orbs turn up very regularly. Now, please enjoy the site, investigate it for a couple of moments. And once again, if you have any questions, I'll be here to help you out.
You see anything, honey?
No.
No? This is the prison. This was the prison yard here. Mommy took the picture and she didn't get anything on the camera.
Yeah, right.
She did. It was all black.
Who's here with a real camera?
Well, we won't be able to tell until they get their film developed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, like a real camera, like the camera that you have.
Look at Mommy's camera, Alan. You'll see that she didn't get anything. Did you get anything when you looked up at the keeper's place?
No, not that I can see. That's up there. But the camera, like, I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. Like, I push the button and it won't take the picture.
Really?
And then
He said that the cameras might not work right.
that's just
You have any ghosts yet? Oh yeah? What did you do last night? Well, yeah, we did great. Everybody was doing something like that. Did you get any impressions of why you were? In American history was right beneath your feet. Now the street that truck just drove on used to be called Prison Lane. Up until the 1930s, that's what the street was called, but they've since changed it. They wanted to try to forget the terrible things which happened here. This dungeon was even worse than the jail we just visited. Sheriff Corwin was in charge. He had it arranged so that every night a person spent in jail, they'd have to pay rent, they'd have to pay for every meal they ate, they'd have to pay the hangman's fee if they were going to be executed. If they couldn't afford it, they wouldn't be set free. They'd be starved or tortured until they died down below ground in this terrible prison. If somebody was found innocent, they'd still have to pay or they'd never be out of this prison alive. Now, inside this jail, the cells were so tiny, they were barely any wider than I am. If you were locked up in one of those cells, you would not be able to sit down or lie down for your entire time in jail. You'd have to stand on your feet in your own filth for months at a time. There was a woman who had a daughter. The woman was locked up for witchcraft. Nobody would take care of the little girl, so she got thrown into jail along with her mother. They were there for about 4 months, and by the time they let the girl out, it was too late. She lost her mind, and she had to get taken care of for the rest of her life. The reason the jail no longer stands here is because in the 1950s, the AT&T Telephone Corporation bought the valuable land and destroyed what remained of the jail. They tore it down and they sold chunks of it to private collectors. One man bought a big wooden beam from the jail. It was used in his driveway to stop his tractor. It was used as a parking bump. It's since been recovered. Now it's on display at the Witch Dungeon Museum. A lot of people will go there, they reach up and they touch this piece of wood, and they feel like energy and emotions left over from this terrible sight will just wash right over them. Now these spirits here are not pleasant spirits. These aren't happy spirits. These aren't the ones you should really go looking to meet. There have been people like myself who have gone down here simply to document there are ghosts around. There have been mediums who have gone down here to help the ghosts find peace. They've been religious and they just have tried to force the ghosts out. Well, none of that stuff seems to work. These ghosts are far more likely to strike out at you than enter some kind of dialogue with you. These ghosts are very, very miserable. They are not yet letting go of the torment they had to endure. These spirits are still stuck in the agony of the 1600s, and it seems like they want us to know about the terrible stuff which went on to them. Now this is an office building, and it's almost always completely empty. They try to rent out space in here, and it's gotten around that nobody wants to be in this place. I used to work here in the basement in the conference rooms with a group of lawyers. It was a pretty strange place to work. Every afternoon at about 3, the temperature would suddenly drop. It would get icy cold. This cold front would move from room to room until the entire basement was freezing. Then just like that, about an hour later, the temperature would rise right back up to normal. It was very strange, and it turns out Corwin would do his rounds torturing people right around 3 o'clock. We think there might be a connection there. There was also a girl I was working with down there. She didn't believe in ghosts until the day one of them touched her. It's very rare when a spirit touches you. Most of the time they wouldn't do such a thing. That would be very powerful and very riled up about something. But this girl was sitting at her desk. She tried to get up for her lunch break. She felt 2 cold hands wrap around her shoulders and shove her back down into her seat. She tried to get up again. Again, this pressure was there, forcing her back down. She remained seated for the rest of the day and quit the following morning. Now, that wasn't the only time spirits have touched somebody in here. Did any of you go to the Spellbound Museum today? The museum in Salem, all dedicated to the supernatural. Even a museum dedicated to this kind of subject matter could not hold on for very long inside this place. When they first came to town, they were renting out space here. It didn't last for long. There was one day, there were only 2 people in there. There was a woman enjoying the museum and a girl working behind the desk. The silence in the museum was shattered by a sound like a slap, like skin hitting skin. The woman screamed and ran out of the building with tears running down her face. Underneath the tears was a big red imprint of a hand, as though somebody had slapped her across the face. The woman described the sensation as getting slapped harder than she'd ever been slapped before, and then getting a jolt of electricity like a lightning bolt through her body. She was terrified. She was the only one in there. It couldn't have been self-inflicted. The handprint on her face was much bigger than either one of her own hands. Unfortunately, she wouldn't let us take a photograph. She said she just wanted to get the hell out of here. It's a very common sentiment in this site, but she was terrified. Now, it makes sense. It felt like electricity hitting her, because a lot of people think that spirits may be an electromagnetic phenomena, and so that just makes sense. Now, I know the maintenance man, who works here, will not work here alone, no matter how much overtime they try to give him. He refuses to be left alone in here with the spirits. Now, as we pass along, I recommend, please, believe it or not. Excuse me. Just keep me updated if you see or feel anything unusual.
Did you take pictures with that then?
Mm-hmm. See anything? You don't?
But can I look for a while?
Look for what?
Anything?
Yeah, look around.
I am looking. I can't see anything.
Well, you
I
might,
need like a camera.
you might see it without a camera on it. Or you might feel it, he said. If you feel somebody touch you. With cold hands.
I just keep on looking up there like.
Oh, you see something on the roof?
No, she feels something on the roof. Or it could, no, Al, it could be in one of the rooms or something.
This is where Bridget Bishop had a tavern here. You see anything?
Yeah, there's someone in the restaurant.
Is there?
Yeah.
A person?
Yeah. See right through the window?
Or a spirit?
Oh yeah, and there's more people back there. Cigarette in her. See it?
Yes, somebody's gnawing.
World famous Joshua Ward House, built in 1784 on the foundation of Sheriff Corwin's home. Corwin himself was actually buried here in the basement after his premature death. That's because the people of Salem swore vengeance on his corpse. They said were he to be buried in a regular cemetery, they'd dig him up and tear him limb from limb in revenge for what he did to their town. Well, the family had no choice but to bury him in the root cellar. It was the only place they thought his body would be safe. Eventually, when this became a commercial property, they had to remove him and entomb him somewhere else secure. However, a lot of people feel somebody, perhaps Corwin, is still haunting the Joshua Ward house right here. Inside this building, you'll see the furniture move from room to room on its own. The lights flicker off and on. You can even see the light switches moving up and down on their own as if by an invisible hand. It's a very, very bizarre location. Now, have you ever heard of EVP, electronic voice phenomena? You may have seen that lousy movie White Noise. Well, it's based on real stuff. EVP. What you do is you take a tape recorder or digital voice recorder, you put it in a haunted location and just let it record. If you're lucky, when you play the recording back, you'll hear voices where there were no voices for you to hear originally. You may hear somebody just chattering away. You may hear a very particular message. The best EVP I ever heard came from here inside the Joshua Ward house. A tape recorder was put in the basement. It was recording. Somebody was down there all the time to make sure there was no tampering. But when the tape was played back, there was an eerie voice. It twice repeated the phrase. It said, "I just want to keep you." It said that twice in a hoarse, gravelly whisper. "I just want to keep you." We don't know who it was that was speaking or why it was saying that particular message, but it was as clear as I'm speaking now and recorded down here in the Joshua Ward house. Now, EVP is one of the easiest and the most fun ways to get real supernatural evidence. I recommend you get a Panasonic digital voice recorder. They're the best for getting this sort of phenomena. Now, EVP, anybody can do it. You just have to put the tape recorder down and let it go, and you'll be amazed at some of the good results you can get. Now, Corwin, we know, in addition to living here, would take victims, mostly young women from the prison. He'd bring them here, torture them inside his home, and if they perished here, he'd just bring them to the jail and pretend they died there. In just a few moments, I'm going to show you an incredible photograph of the spirit we believe to be one of Corwin's victims, the lady in black. She's a terrifying looking figure who just roams around inside here staring at people until they get uncomfortable and feel like they have to leave. She chased a real estate agency out of here a few years back, and you're going to see her startling image in just a little bit. Now, probably the most terrifying thing which happened here happened up on the second floor in the room behind those darkened windows on the right-hand side of the building. There was a man by the name of Brian. He was a devout Franciscan monk. In addition to being one of New England's best paranormal investigators, he was setting up his equipment and his religious icons when he felt two hands wrap around his neck and begin to squeeze and shake him. He was being choked within an inch of his life. He was being thrown all about the room. Nobody was there. It was as if invisible hands were choking him to death. He tried to call for help. Nobody could hear him. He fell to his knees. He thought he was going to die. Eventually, a maintenance man came in and pried the phantom fingers from his neck. Brian packed up and ran out, never to return to this site. We believe he had an encounter with the Strangler, Sheriff Corwin himself. When Corwin was alive, they called him the Strangler. When he wasn't crushing people, his favorite method of interrogation was to choke somebody until they confessed to just about anything he wanted them to. And, well, that's probably still him here inside the Joshua Ward house. When you're photographing, I recommend the windows on the right-hand side of the second floor. Also, near the foundation is good. The area near the front door is good, because a lot of people have had some pretty intense encounters on the stairway behind the stairs.
Said that wouldn't happen. What happened?
Stay here, that is not his ghost.
What happened?
People all the time.
Is this the battery?
No.
This is so we're almost empty.
Yeah, but that was fully charged. It was.
Here, Mom.
He
Want
said
me to
that
show
would.
him?
No.
Why not?
He said that would happen, babe. That the batteries would just
Get
start
that
going
window,
down.
I swear.
In the front?
The one with the lights on.
It's like a woman up there.
It's George Washington.
It ain't George Washington, honey.
Is the battery really bad? It's still kind of creepy. It's a little bit bad. He said, Dad, he said the right hand corner. We're moving.
Oh, you can't.
I can't videotape the picture.